Through you, Madam Chair, we are now live.
Thanks, Angela. Well, welcome. I'll formally open this afternoon's meeting of the Bayside Local Planning Panel. And before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we are all meeting this afternoon and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Just some housekeeping information before we start with the development applications. So the purpose of the Bayside Planning Panel is to consider planning proposals and to determine development applications where the value is less than $30 million, where there's a potential conflict of interest. It is contentious development, where there's substantial departure from development standards, or it is a sensitive development. Council no longer considers those development applications and they come within the authority of the local planning panels. In particular, the panel must consider development applications which have attracted 10 or more unique objections in a public meeting. So that's what we are having now. It's a public meeting of the planning panel, and the reason that it's a public meeting is because for the two items on the agenda, there have been more than 10 submissions posing those items. The public meeting is being recorded and is live streamed to Council's YouTube page. The recording is an official record of Council and may be made available to persons on request who make an application under the Freedom of Information legislation. Applicants and members of the public that have registered to speak will be asked to unmute their phone or computer at the relevant time to address the panel and to answer any questions. Alternatively, members of the public may have registered for the meeting by making a written submission. And the panel acknowledges that we've received a number of written submissions in relation to both applications. Once the panel has heard from all the speakers, including the applicants, we will either make a decision during the public meeting or adjourn and make a decision after the meeting. At this meeting, we'll be making a decision after the meeting. As previously mentioned, all decisions of the panel are published on Council's website, and we try to do that certainly within 7 days of today's meeting, and preferably a shorter period than that. So before we commence, we will introduce ourselves. My name is Marcia Doheny and I'm the chair of this evening's meeting. My expertise is in law. I've worked as a lawyer for over 35 years, and much of that time spent practicing planning law in private legal practice and local and state government. I also have expertise in public administration and governance, having worked as a senior executive for the state New South Wales government and also in local government, most recently at City of Sydney Council. So Larissa, if I could ask you to introduce yourself, please.
Oh, good afternoon. My name's Larissa Ozog. I'm a town planning consultant and project manager with local government experience. I've worked in private practice and also at the Department of Planning. So I've got over 20 years of experience and largely in development assessment is more my speciality or area of expertise as such. Thanks.
Thanks, Larissa. Lindsay?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm a consultant planner now. I guess the majority of my career to this point has been in local government. I think as either an employee or a staff or contractor, I think it numbers about 15 different LGAs in Sydney and near Sydney. I've got qualifications in geography and town planning. I'm a member of the Planning Institute of Australia. I have a number of private clients currently. I'm on this and 3 other panels in Sydney. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. And Anna is our community member.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks, Masha. Yes, I am Anna Corpus. I'm a resident of Bexley for the past 14 years. I'm currently with the Department of Planning and Environment. I've worked in planning projects. I'm mostly now managing water projects, but I have experience in local government, and I have experience in developing the housing SEP as well as the affordable housing SEP previously. I have got a postgrad degree in policy, so policy is my real area of expertise. but happy to be a community representative in this panel.
Thanks very much, Anna, and thanks, panel, for that. Do we have any apologies? I think not.
No.
In terms of disclosures of interest, each of the panel members has signed a written declaration that they do not have any interest that would conflict with the business on tonight's agenda, but I'll just ask you formally for the record to say whether you have any conflicts of interest. I do not.
No conflict.
Nothing for me.
No perceived conflicts from me either.
Thank you. So each of the 4 members of the panel have confirmed that we do not have any conflicts of interest for tonight's business. So that takes us to the 2 matters on the agenda. The first one is item 6.1, 1345 Botany Road, Botany. This is a development application which has been deferred from a previous meeting of a previous panel. The previous panel raised a number of issues and requested that they be addressed by the applicant, and the development application is now before this panel for further consideration. So this panel considers the development application from scratch. It's not a 2-stage process. Our duty and our legal obligation is to consider the development application and consider it, the assessment of it, and make a determination in accordance with the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. So that's what we're doing now. We have a person registered to speak against the recommendation. The recommendation of the council planning staff is that the development application be approved. And we have Mr. Spiros Tamkavaris, who's an affected neighbour, who's registered to speak. Are you there, Mr. Tamkavaris?
Yeah.
Spiros Tamvakaris.
Sounds like he's on the phone having trouble connecting.
Angela, you might see whether you can contact Mr. Tamvakaris.
We are just trying to connect with him now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll just wait for him to come, hopefully to get connected. Because he's the only speaker registered to speak for this item.
Against the item, yes.
Hello. Yes.
Hello, is that Mr. Tamvakaris?
Yes, it's Zero. Yes. Hi. How are you?
Hi. Very well, thanks, and welcome to this evening's meeting. And thank you for registering to speak. And I'll hand over to you. So we have a panel of 4 this evening, and
Sure.
you have about 3 minutes
Sure.
to address the panel on the issues that you would most likely to bring to our attention. And you'll be
Okay,
given
great.
a warning at 2 minutes, just so that you know when your
Yeah.
time is drawing to an end.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I'm one of 4 owners that are situated on the southern boundary of this development. The 4 terraces, townhouses, are owned by myself and my siblings. I have issues with this development in that even after 3 plans, nothing seems to have been changed to address our concerns in relation to the bulk and scale of the development. I just feel that with the size of the block, which is a very narrow block, that a 3-storey development exceeds what I thought would be acceptable on that site. They're making comparisons with other properties in the area, but they're on much bigger blocks than this particular block. And as a result of the owner's desire to have a 4-bedroom house that suits the needs of his family, I just feel like it's coming completely at our expense. It's built right on the boundary. We're getting less than 2 hours of sunlight, direct sunlight a day, especially on the first 2 of the townhouses closest to Botany Road. And I just feel that with a very busy road, with planes flying overhead, my only sanctuary is to step out in the backyard and enjoy some sun. And now I'll be looking at a 3-storey building, 3-storey place, which I think is quite unfair given the expense that we went through to demolish a 1970s style factory site and then come back off the boundary and create yards, which improves, which is sensitive to the needs of the neighbour. Given we built back off the boundary, removed that wall, we'll now be punished with a very high building next door. So bulk and scale is my main concern. I also have concerns with the rear veranda, which has screening on the side, but should you stand half a metre away from that screening, you'd still be able to overlook into the yards next door, which affects our privacy. I have concerns with the garage. The garage is very excessive in height and scale, and it creates its own overshadowing issues. And my last concern relates to a lack of landscaping. There's nothing to beautify the structure, especially from our side. We're looking at a wall and we're not really looking at any trees, landscaping on the side. There's no real landscaping at the front of the premises. Our property has landscaping all the way around it, which softens the impact of the building. With a three-storey structure without any landscaping, I just feel that it's just going to stand out like a sore thumb. And I'm really quite concerned about this development and the owner's persistence with going for a three-storey property. So they were my main concerns that I was hoping that would be addressed by your panel.
Thanks, Mr. Tambukeras. That's very clear. You've made your points very clearly, which the panel appreciates. So thank you for that. I don't have any questions for you, but I'll throw it open to the panel and ask whether any of the other panel members have a question for Mr. Tambukeras.
Yeah, I just had a question. I just wanted to ask you, I know you've got a third story with dormer windows. What is that just, what's up there? Is that just like a master bedroom?
So right at the very top of the building on the third level, there's a master bedroom. We did plan to have a veranda at the back, but with the objections of this neighbour, we had to turn them into a box so they don't overlook into his yard. So we have a veranda space that's useless as a result of the neighbour's persistence to that we don't build any, that we don't have a veranda that's open at the back. So yes, so from the third level, if you can't really see what's next door at all. So yeah. It's all in a dormer.
In a dormer style. Yeah.
So
I just
that makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I just wanted a confirmation of how that. What was inside. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries.
Any other questions?
None from me, thank you.
Okay, well, Mr. Tambukeras, we don't have any other questions for you. And again, thank you for addressing the panel this evening. We will make our decision. We'll make our decision after the meeting, and that decision will be put onto Council's website within the next few days, and no later than 7 days from today.
Yeah. Can I just also mention that these are my siblings that own the other three townhouses, so I'm representing all four of us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we noted that, but thanks. Thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So we also have Mr. Benjamin Page speaking in support of the recommendation for approval, and we've also received a written submission from Miss Pamela Majstorovic. Are you there, Mr. Page?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's fine. Hi, Mr. Page.
Thank you. Should I get started?
Yes, please.
Okay, no problem. Look, I'm ecstatic that we've come this far with council. It's been a long 15 months of back and forth and lots of changes. As you know, I think there's been 4 revisions of plans now. We're now fully compliant with what the council wants us to do. In regards to a couple of things that were said there by the neighbour, we never objected to any veranda. That was never an objection that we made against their development. There was an objection that we made to them having a shop at the front.
Don't worry. Look, it's not relevant to the panel of what has happened on previous DAs. So don't
all right.
use up your time on that.
Yeah, look, we are really happy with the fact that the council's recommending approval now. The top floor is offset off the boundary now, as per the council's conditions. They acknowledged the fact that we didn't have to look at the overshadowing as much because the neighbouring development did actually change the orientation of their block against the council DCP, the recommendations in the DCP. So, and they are over 100% in their FSR as well. So they're absolutely maximising every little centimetre they can on their block. So, and that's four of their dwellings that are all rented out as well. So none of the owners there live there. So they're not, maximising on any backyards or anything like that. Look, the only thing I wanted to mention was the consideration of the back veranda that council are recommending to remove. My wife's submission basically has the photos of a couple of the snips taken from the previous agenda, where it mentions that it doesn't actually recommend removing the balcony. It just recommends extra screening to the northern elevation, which we did in our latest provision of plans. And it also, look, I just wanted to show the photos of the neighbouring windows that do overlook our backyard as well. So I feel like that the privacy issue is a mutual thing that sort of is between the two blocks, and it comes hand in hand with living in such a developed area. In saying that, I don't want it to become a roadblock in us moving forward with this. I really don't. It's been a long slog for us, and it's been a very costly slog, and we've done everything that we possibly can to try and go back to council and find things to make things work in the best possible way. So we're trying to be as amicable as possible, and we're not trying to cause any neighbouring issues or anything like that. We just want to be able to build what we're entitled to build on our block and within the parameters, and we comply in every single way now. So Heritage is happy with it. We're compliant in every way with floor to FSRs and setbacks, and as I'm sure you've probably read with their recommendation, it is compliant. So we would love to see this thing approved, to be honest, for our family. So that's quite literally all I had to say, and my wife's submission basically echoes that. So.
All right, thanks, Mr. Page. Can you just confirm that there was no updated acoustic report provided with the new plans?
No. So as part of the condition, as far as I read, with the recommendation is that we would have to update the acoustic report. We would have to do an updated BASIX and all that, just because the plans have changed now 4 times. So only slightly the plans have changed. So the window layouts are pretty similar, but we acknowledge that there would have to be revisions of all those as well, which is fine.
Yeah, just so that you're aware, it's a legal requirement for us to have the information available to us as the panel about the acoustic results from the design before us. So that we know that we can be satisfied that the proposed development that's before us today complies with the acoustic requirements.
So the acoustic report, when read through it, gives locations of bedrooms and the applications of materials that are needed to be able to combat the acoustic requirements, right? So quite literally, all we've done is change the facade. The layout of the house is exactly the same. The facade is slightly different. So they're the only changes that. So the acoustic report would fit within the parameters of the new plans, as far as the bedroom, what it specifies for the bedrooms, but it just the facade has changed. That's the only thing really that's changed about our plans.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did any panel members have any questions for Mr. Page?
I understand the perspective. I understand the perspective of the applicant about the facade being the only feature that's been modified, and thus it follows that the acoustic report from June would still be acceptable as applied to the revised design. that is the claim. But of course, we will need additional validation from the professional acoustic experts
Sure.
to verify that. It may not necessarily be a fully revised acoustic report, but perhaps to justify that claim. I'm
Sure.
not sure if the rest of the panel will agree, or we will have to require a fully, rewritten acoustic report.
I could definitely source that. We use this acoustic engineer all the time where I work, so I'd be able to get that probably within 3 or 4 days. I'd say 3 or 4 working days.
Any other questions for Mr. Page or comments?
Just Mr. Page, just wondering if you're, would you be happy or able or prepared to delete the veranda from the first floor, possibly lower the garage roof pitch, possibly think about a more symmetrical setback? I think Larissa has raised that from the street elevation in the top floor. Currently, it's not symmetrical. And perhaps some additional sustainability things such as solar panels on the north-facing roof, which is quite extensive on the site.
I did have solar panels on my plan originally.
Okay.
Maybe they haven't translated through to the latest set of plans. But it is part of the basics that we have solar panels on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, the veranda, like I said before, the veranda is something that I don't want it to become a clincher as far as the approval is concerned. I feel like we've gone to the effort and we've spent a lot of money on changing the plans now 4 times and re-engaging the heritage consultant to give us another revised report. The council is happy with that report. They feel like it fits within the heritage conservation area. So look, do I want to go back and change the plans again? Not particularly, not in total, no. Am I willing to tweak it here and there? Yeah, 100%. But I feel like that now that we're fully compliant and that we're in a pretty good place to move forward with it,
Yeah, there's a component in the development control plan that applies to the land that talks about design excellence. So I guess just those are some of the issues that I feel, and I think the panel will agree that there could be some changes done to actually better meet that development excellence requirement. But other panel members may have issues as well. So over to you.
No, there's nothing further from me. I think the panel needs to have a discussion about the issues that have been raised, but I don't have anything more from Mr. Page, unless anybody else does, Larissa or Anna.
Just reinforcing that requirement to, as much as possible, deliver on the objectives of the design excellence criteria, as we have been talking about some things that could be improved. So I think we will look at those things and make the determination based on whether the current form is acceptable as far as meeting the design excellence criteria or not.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's the same issue that I kind of had, and also to just ensure there were some points that the previous panel raised in terms of the design, beyond just being compliant with the heritage conservation area and providing that documentation. There was the issues regarding kind of resolution of the top level and it being integrated into the roof form, and obviously to look at privacy impacts. And so there were some issues raised there that I think we just have to be comfortable that this proposal satisfies those as well. So yeah, that's all I
look,
kind of add.
We've gone back and forth again. I know that you guys are going to talk about this, but we have gone back and forth very extensively with council over the time in regards to a lot of things in regards to this. Yeah, and to see that they were happy with the design really made us quite happy again. So to take a step backwards from here, look, and for it to be, if it was to be knocked back completely, it would be absolutely devastating, I think, for us. Yeah. But it is what it is.
The recommendation did say that the submission of the Heritage Conservation Report was satisfactory, but as I said, we're looking beyond that. Now it's not an issue, but the real sticking point for us really was whether it meets the design excellence criteria, which the current form of it is neutral. That is the observation, or that is the conclusion that we're getting from council's recommendation. It is neutral in terms of design excellence. It's actually not positively adding. So meeting a neutral level is sort of below par, because the design excellence criteria says positive contribution, not neutral.
Mm.
But we'll take that away, thank you, and discuss the matter further and get our result out onto the council's website as soon as possible. So thanks very much for your time, Mr. Page.
That's okay. Thank you very much as well.
Thank you. So that concludes that item, and we now have item 6.2, which is the modification application for 9 Fleet Street, Carlton. We have no one registered to speak for this development application, so we can close the formal meeting at this stage. So at 5:35, we'll close the streaming public meeting, and then we will continue our consideration and make our determinations on both items.
Marcia, we've lost you. I mean, I can see you, but you're frozen.